Hello, my lovely audience. So, this is What If Deku Was Solid Snake. Now, if you don't know who Solid Snake is, I want you to take 5 steps back away from this video and then go look up Metal Gear Solid and just do your research, because I'm not going to get into the whole everything. Basically, this is What If Deku was Solid Snake. And how this is going to go is this. So Deku, growing up, was a very sickly kid, but he excelled in his academics because he wanted to become a hero. He had that goal of becoming a hero who can save people, who can protect people. And what ended up happening next was this. When he was in middle school, he immediately on the first day was able to excel past middle school, and he was about to basically get out because they saw his grades and they were like, yes, you could. Yeah, you took all the tests, so you are basically a lot smarter than anyone here. So, yes, I don't see no problem without you just skipping middle school. I have no problem with that. And when Deku was leaving, Bakugo got word of this and immediately used all of his output and blew up Deku, causing his one of his eyes to be completely blown out. I would say it's his right eye, completely blown off. And actually, no. Let's say, yeah, the right eye. Why not? Screw it. It's going to be the right eye. He loses his right eye and immediately is sent into a coma. And when he's rushed to the hospital and taken in, he's immediately, he immediately is, how do I put it? He's immediately told that he is not going to survive in this coma because his body is way too weak. His immune system is completely gone. He has no immune system. He has no muscles. He has nothing that can actually support his body when he's in this coma. In fact, if he even wakes up at all, he might not even have a body to come back to. So they introduce an experimental project that they're going to be working on for comatose patients who are very weak and so on, and could probably later on be proposed into a military solution or hero solution. So it is basically nanites. Nanotechnology where they administer nanobots that are going to go through his body over a course of time that is going to enhance his capabilities and build up his entire muscle structure, immune system, and so on to actually prevent any problems, really. Basically, they're making him a super soldier. Simple as that. And they're working this on comatose patients first. Now, where is Deku in this coma? Well, there's a reason why he's in a coma. Because this is a fun little thing I kind of created and wanted to actually try. Because it's going to be fun. Yay! Anyways, let's get to the fun part. So, Deku's going to be thrown on an island where he is completely fucked if he doesn't learn how to do something fast. Basically, it's an island where there's a bunch of criminals. Basically, this is the premise. I'm going to tell you what they think is happening. They're on hell. They're dead. Or at least they're going to be. They're in purgatory. And basically, if you die on this island, you die in real life. When really, that's not the case. In reality terms, this is what the actual island is. It is purgatory. But if you die, you just wake up forgetting all that happened in that dream. It's basically a dream. You forget everything. Now, how you actually wake up with all these memories is you have to survive 3 years. Anyways, you have to survive 3 years. Now, that's kind of hard because with all the people that are on it trying to kill you, plus every 2 months there's a kill squad that comes out to try and kill off everyone on the island. Now, Deku does find someone who can help him. And by the way, if you want to know more about this kill squad, I'm just going to call them the Nightmares, because it's basically what they are. Enhanced strength, speed, and loaded with an unlimited amount of ammunition, and can basically see you with, normal human eyes, but at the same time, with that insane speed and strength and reflexes, it's almost impossible. Oh, and insane hearing. They can hear footsteps pretty easily, but they can't hear breathing or a heartbeat, so that's good. And they basically, well, are able to tell where you are and just, well, shoot you down like a dog. Really fucked up, yeah, I know. Now, for what ends up happening next is this. Deku, he finds someone who he later calls Boss, who teaches him how to survive and strengthen his body and so on. And actually survive on this island with hand-to-hand combat, knife combat, gun training, everything. And he calls this person Boss. I'm going to just say that this is what Boss looks like. And immediately, they grow a close attachment. Within 1 year, they have survived quite a long time. In fact, he has adopted the bandana that the Boss wears, and he later finds out from Boss that he's actually dead. On this island, he's been dead. This island's filled with people that have a chance to survive and a chance to die. But he is dead, and he enjoys his time here. Every time he dies, he just comes back, and so on. And his training is basically probably really old school, because from when he's from 2020. Yeah, he died during the COVID whole thing, so that's fun. Yeah. So yeah, he died during 2020, as in that is about 100 years and like 120 years. So yeah, Deku's like 120 years in the future, so that's fun. Yeah, that's when like the anime takes place, right? 2148 or 49. That's when it takes place. So yeah, for what ends up happening next though is this. Deku, yeah, he learns knife combat training, he learns how to use hand-to-hand combat, and he becomes really good at it, that he beats Boss almost every time now. So then they realized that, why don't we make a settlement? So a group that we can, have people come in and protect them and save people. And basically, they make a little settlement, but immediately that turns south within a year. And what ends up happening next is this. Boss is now taking control of the settlement and then hunts down Deku. Deku has got to survive on his own now with very limited supplies, and also has now been strong enough to actually kill these nightmares every 2 months. He gets supplies from them. That's how he survives. He kills them. These insane, terrifying monsters I have created, yes, he hunts them down and kills them. Mind you, he hunts them down. Yeah. So yeah, Deku is completely in his natural element now. He has made his own peace with this world, and he has taken down most of the group. He's actually subdued them and moved at insane stealthy speed. In fact, he's kind of like the Predator in this sense, because he moves at such a slow pace that he is almost like the White Feather from Vietnam. So if you don't know who the White Feather is, do research on that. That's an actual person who is awesome and like terrifying. So there's that. And it's kind of funny why it's called White Feather, but at the same time, pretty terrifying. Anyways, yeah. So he's moving through the grass and everything, and he's moving at a very terrifying, slow... You get what I mean. He's terrifying, okay? I don't need to put any other words. He's terrifying. He's moved in just ridiculous speeds throughout the entire island and mapped out the entire place and completely destroyed other settlements and groups just on his own. He's a one-man army. And he's labeled as, on this island, the man who can make the impossible possible. And yeah. So yeah, after 3 years, Deku is on his own on the island. He's completely on his own. All the other people have just either committed suicide because they can't handle the fear of knowing that he's out there, or he is actually gone and, puts fear into them to actually make them not want to live anymore. Yeah, there's a lot of death in this. But all of them wake up. That's the interesting thing. They all wake up. Except the dead ones. They always wake up back where they started. So yeah, they're not technically dead, so... Well, they are, but they're not dying. They're just coming back to life, I guess. Anyways, for what ends up happening next is this. Deku wakes up on his bed, and they've been doing muscle therapy to try and have that when he, gets up, he doesn't have any pain anywhere. He just feels like jelly. So yeah, he quickly gets back up after they administer some stimulant or basically whatever it is, and they basically have him get up and try and perform regular things, which he does easily. Mind you, this whole time, Deku was on that island without an eye. Mind you that. This man was one-eyed badass. So yeah. Now, on the island, he did get a nickname, and that is Snake. He was called a snake because, well, he was deadly, like a snake with venom. So yeah, he was called Snake. And for what ends up happening next is this. Deku, well, what ends up happening here is this. He, how do I put it? He kind of gets up and he pretty much gets all the experimental therapy. Mind you, this shit was all free because it's experimental. They always want to test this shit on somebody, so it's free. Yay. So yeah, Deku wakes up with a body that resembles his own that he had on the island, just not covered in scars, and immediately starts practicing his hand-to-hand combat and everything. And uses even a plastic knife as what he would use for an actual knife. And he practices it. And immediately he gets caught by the nurse, who is kind of shocked by how much muscle growth he has had because they just saw him covered up, that's it. And for what ends up happening next is this. Deku is about to enter UA. He is 15 years old, and he is going to be going into UA. Now, what ends up happening here is this. I believe it is I'm going to wake him up. I'm going to keep the age. So yeah, he is ready to go to UA. And after being, subjected to a lot of tests to make sure he's healthy, and the experimental results were proven correct that it's, oh my god, it works, holy crap. Yeah, it works, yeah. So yeah, Deku also gets a cybernetic eye to actually help with his loss of sight, but he denies it. He doesn't want it because it's just going to make things harder for him. He's kind of gotten used to using only one eye. So what ends up happening next is this. Deku, when he goes to UA, a lot of people are kind of terrified of him because he's leaving off this presence of just pure fear. His height is also alone scaring people. He's like not his original height. I would say he's like 5'10". So there's that. And he's just walking around scaring the crap out of people with the most silent footsteps. And when he gets into UA, first thing that happens is the written exam. He aces that because he's already incredibly smart, and on the island there were some books out there that he could get and read. And he also got history lessons from a dude from like 2020, so there's that. And other people from other time zones, so there's that. And he also fought people who had other types of training that he would then later implement in his own, and so on, yeah. So what ends up happening here is this. He is first place in the written exam. And Bakugo would see Deku and be kind of like, when did he become so tall, really? Also, mind you, Bakugo's kind of distanced himself from Inko and all that because he feels like shit. He thinks that he killed his best friend, his former best friend. Basically, he thinks he killed Deku. But when he sees Deku for a split second, he doesn't recognize him. He thinks he's somebody else. Until he sees the eye patch. That's when he actually notices, oh crap, that might be Deku. And yeah, so, for what ends up happening next is this. Deku does the practical exam, and this is fun because, oh boy, highly trained badass versus a bunch of robots. Who's going to win? obviously a highly trained badass, who destroys these robots. He destroys them completely. Just amazing strength. And honestly, the people are looking at like his chart and looking like back, and they're like, he's quirkless. He's quirkless. This man is quirkless. How is he doing that? He's destroying them. And I would say that he gets a huge amount of points from just how much he's helping people and saving them and so on. And for what ends up happening next is this. Deku saves Araka before she even needs help. Because mind you, he's just going around saving people. And what ends up happening here is this. What ends up happening here is basically that, he gets immediately put into Class 1A because they're like, okay, he's quirkless, but he's also insanely strong. So we got to figure out how did he learn how to do some of these moves. And I would say Aizawa would be intrigued by Deku because he's quirkless, but at the same time, he's moving with precision and training, like actual moves that take training. Like his moves were not sloppy, they were precise. They were calculated. He knew what he was doing. Those weren't sloppy punches that you just throw randomly. He was throwing punches that he was trained for. That takes, like, those types of punches and everything, that training takes years. So he wonders where he learned it because he wants to actually know, has his training been somewhat different? He also wants to spar Deku very much. Anyways, so for what ends up happening next is this. Deku, after completely destroying the robots and getting into Class 1A, he goes to school and gets his acceptance letter. He gets his acceptance letter and freaks out like crazy. After that, after being proud and happy, he goes into school with a smile on his face, sits down early, and he's the first one there. And Aizawa would actually be walking in. No, he would be sleeping under the desk. And I would say that Deku would walk over to this, to the teacher, looking down at him. And Aizawa would feel his gaze, thinking that he knows that I'm here. What the hell? And then immediately he walks to his seat. And, walks to take a seat. And basically what ends up happening next, also Deku never got fell by Araka. Fell and then got saved by Araka, so there's that. So, yeah. For what ends up happening next is that Deku is, he pretty much just starts giving off a very interesting presence because some people are terrified, some people aren't. And Bakugo, who walks in the class, sees Deku with green hair, eye patch, and Deku just looks at him for a second and then looks straight back at the desk. And Aizawa could feel his gaze on the desk. And Araka would go over and even say, thank you for saving me. And he would say, don't mention it. It's what heroes do. And she would immediately blush by that and also go, wow, he is very much a hero indeed. Holy crap. And immediately after that, Deku is going to, let's see here. I would say that Ida would be intrigued by how he is missing his eye. Like a lot of people are looking at him wondering, how did he lose an eye? What's this? Is that his quirk? Does he need to cover an eye because that's his quirk or something? What's going on? And I would say that one person gets ballsy enough to do it, and I would say that would be Kirishima, because he sees the muscles through his shirt, his entire uniform. So he would definitely go up to him and ask him, "You're so manly, dude." I can't do that. All right. He'd probably go up to him and introduce himself and start actually being friendly towards him. And for what ends up happening here is this. Deku is then asked the question after being asked his name and all that. And he's let's see, I'm going to say that he saw Deku's fighting in his style in the entrance exam. So he would actually ask, what is his quirk exactly? And Deku would say that he is quirkless, which a lot of people would be listening to the conversation and immediately kind of just go, holy shit, he's quirkless? How is he quirkless? Why is a quirkless person, like, in UA? How is this? And they're basically all wondering all these questions on how is he able to go, like, become a hero if he's got no quirk? He's just going to put himself in danger, but at the same time, he said that he had a fighting style. So a lot of people were actually wondering why he's here, he's quirkless. And he immediately proves his worth after the physical exam, because Aizawa would pop up and he'd be eyeing Deku, wondering how he knew and how he was able to spot him so easily. And basically what ends up happening here, actually no, I'm going to say that Deku, he thinks that since everyone is here, he gets up, walks over to the desk, kicks it a bit, and says, wake up. And immediately, Aizawa would pop up and say, you know, it's hard getting some sleep around here, you know that? And a lot of people would be shocked and wondering, how did he know that he was there? And from what ends up happening next is this. Deku goes to sit back down, and well, what ends up happening next is Deku, well, he, let's see. I'm going to say that he, for the physical exam, gets a pretty average score, but at the same time, a little above average when it comes down to speed, and, like, he passes Bakugo in speed, because he's moving at a peak human levels of speed. And let's see here, for what is going to happen with, the strength test, he beats everyone else, having perfect form and actually just really good grip strength. And people would be like wondering, how is he this strong? Like, what type of training did he need to do this stuff? And it's all basically muscle memory at this point. And from what ends up happening next is this. Deku, he, actually, no, I'm going to say he doesn't do too great in the speed test. I would say he does all right. Not great, but, you know, enough. So, yeah, everything when it comes down to strength and ball throw, yeah, he does a really good job. And for what ends up happening with who gets booted out, it's Mineta. It's Mineta. We don't need to talk about it. It's Mineta. We all know it's going to be Mineta. It's Mineta. So, yeah, Mineta gets booted. And for who gets to fill his place is going to be Kendo. Now, as for what is going to happen with the Heroes versus Villain exam, the famous exam, Deku proves that he, even if he has no quirk, he is still very dangerous. And how does he prove this? Well, mind you, he's on the island. I'm going to say that there is some other trainings that, you know, he learned and that were very intense, to say the least. And those trainings were anti-torture training, as in how to survive certain types of torture. Some old school tortures, some new age tortures, and so on. So, basically Deku is like a safe and a lock. He's completely locked up. You can't get anything out of him. Hey, I didn't drink it all. I'm doing a video.
Oh, okay. Well, drink it all because
I gotcha.
cheese just arrived.
And your quill's in there.
Gotcha. Anyways, for what ends up happening next is this. Deku, well, he goes against, he's going to be going against Bakugo, Ida, and he's going to be teamed up with a Rocket. I'm keeping the teams the same because no reason to make them different right now. And for what ends up happening here is this. He wants to see what he can do against someone who actually, you know, he wants to see how good of a, like, teamwork there is. Now, Deku's hero suit is going to look like this. And he is going to be loaded